Kiriko's the first new healer in Overwatch 2, and don't worry, I promise she's not a heal bot like Mercy. She can honestly do a surprising amount of damage for a healer, and you'll probably see herself focusing more on shooting rather than healing. She's kinda comparable to Zenyatta in that way. Kiriko's grandmother devoted herself to the fox spirit, which taught her all about healing, while Kiriko's mother chose the path of the blade like the Shimadas. Kiriko was raised besides Genji and Hanzo. Both Kiriko's grandmother and mother wanted her to completely devote herself to their path. However, she couldn't abandon either, so she decided to make her own path where she can do both. Now that you know a little bit about her backstory, let's talk about her abilities. Her passive is wall climb, which, makes sense because Kiriko went through the same training as Hanzo and Genji did. It allows her to scale up walls, so you can just be a little spider lady and crawl up the walls and never let your targets escape you. Or if you're like me, you'll be using it to absolutely run away from the enemies because you're a coward and they're scary and they're gonna kill you and you can't aim. Healing Ofuda. How in God's name do you pronounce that? I hope I'm not butchering it. I apologize, I speak no Japanese. Kiriko's primary fire, Healing Ofuda, are small talismen that heal her teammates. She fires up to 10 healing projectiles depending on how long the key is held down. You can change this in the settings menu, because by default you fire 5 projectiles at a time, but you can turn that off so it just goes by how long you hold it down the key. I do recommend this as it does just give you general better control over it. However, default's better for newbies. It's a single target heal with blue talisman that home in on allies and turn yellow when they actually start to heal. If you do end up missing your talisman, allies can actually jump into them or walk into them and they will start healing them, so even if you miss, it's not a waste, just your teammates have to, find them, which is hard because they're really tiny pieces of paper. Be warned though, these little talismen are really slow at traveling distances, so if your teammate's really far, it may be really hard to heal them, because they may just die before your heals even get to them. But it makes sense. Have you ever tried to throw a paper airplane without the airplane, so it's just paper? It's pretty slow, and honestly, the fact that she can get it more than a foot in front of her is impressive enough for me. Kiriko's secondary fire is called Kunai. They are small leaf-shaped knives that she throws one at a time. The knives have a low overall damage for body shots, but do an insane amount of critical damage. Honestly, this has a super high skill ceiling, so if you can aim, which, to be honest, none of us can, you can basically two-shot most enemies. However, with how fast-paced this game is and adding in the fact that enemies will be moving, crouching, jumping, and for some odd reason, they do this weird thing called firing back at me. It's really weird, I don't know why they do that. We all know that the best thing to do when faced with a 1v1 you can't win is to run away. So introducing her next ability, Swift Step. Swift Step allows Kiriko to teleport directly to an ally within a max range of 35 meters, even through walls. When you activate this ability, you need to have a target before you can confirm the movement. Confirming an ally will let you go directly to them. This is on a cooldown though, so make sure the teammate that you teleport to isn't in the middle of the enemy team or you may just die with them. However, this is a really good ability for flanking the enemy team with your teammates. I can see her flanking with Sombra being really strong, because when Sombra just teleports away, Kiriko can just teleport with her. Well, as long as Sombra's teleport isn't further than 35 meters or in a stupid place, so it has its downsides, but if your teammate has 2 brain cells that rub together, you can go far with her. Protection Suzu. Protection Suzu is a small bell-shaped projectile that affects all allies within a small area of effect, including Kiriko if she throws it at her feet. It makes them briefly invulnerable and cleanses all negative status effects, including sleep darts, antis, Rhine charges. It is pretty strong. You may be thinking, oh dear god, is Lamb 2.0 but better? But you don't have to fear, as this ability, while cannot be destroyed, it only lasts 1 second, meaning timing for this ability is crucial. Finally, her ultimate is called Kistune Rush. She summons a fox that rushes forward, creating a glowing path for her team in its wake. This path gives Kiriko and her allies a buff that increases the speed of all allies' actions, including movement speed, rate of fire, cooldowns. Kitsune's path is marked by gateways, and allies have to be in this gateway to get the buff. Stepping out of it, even just a little bit, will remove the ultimate's buffs. And let's be honest, look at this little guy. Isn't she the cutest? Oh, she's the best ultimate in the game. She's just the best. Here's some totally pro tips for Kiriko, coming from a person who is now one-tricking Kiriko. Teleporting can take a while, as it's somehow hard to find out where the hell your teammates are. So I recommend if you're really low health and you are going to die, you will die, you can throw down a protection Suzu, which will give you an extra second to find someone without fear of death. Now this doesn't always work because sometimes your teammates are just out of range, but this does help just give you an extra second to try and find someone. Genji's one. Oh, I had to run. Throwing out a kunai and then punching will animation cancel, and it's a good way of pumping out an easy 150 damage fast, which means you can one-shot a tracer if you can hit a headshot and then punch her, but that does mean she has to be rather close to you in the first place. I do recommend trying to save your protection Suzu, as a lot of enemies will try and bait it out, because it can pretty much make a lot of ults like Doomfist useless if timed correctly. You can get people out of Ryan's Shatter. Yeah. What's up, my boy? There we go. You can even negate Orisa's slow in her ult. And then click! Hell to that, man. You can even stop Tire if you time it correctly.
Fire in the hole!
If you throw down a protection Suzu and then use Kistune Rush, you can use 2 more protection Suzus after that, as long as you use them immediately off cooldown. I don't know when this will be useful, but you never know when you may need it.
Cool.
Kistune Rush, or ultimate, will always travel down, but not up, so if there's someone on high ground and you want your Kistune to be up there, it will not go up. But if you are on high ground and you need it to go down, it will fall off the railings. Kistune Rush will not travel through any walls or obstacles, so if the payload is blocking it, it will stop. And if a Mei, friendly, or enemy will put up their ice wall, or even an ice block, it will stop your ultimate in its place, so that is a very easy way of cancelling your ult, is just putting up a Mei wall. So make sure you tell your friendly Meis to watch themselves, because they can stop your ultimate on accident. Another tip is to spam the kunai in tight angles and any type of corners like how you would a Zenyatta, because kunais do not have any damage drop off, and they move in a straight line and completely defy gravity. So it's really good if you can spam those tight angles and corners at head level, because you can get an easy double headshot before the enemies can even react. If you're new to Kiriko and you don't know how to use her weapon yet, what I suggest you do is to primarily focus on healing, because despite being a healer that can do both, she can do an insane amount of healing just if you primarily focus on that. Over time, when your team doesn't need to be healed, you could practice throwing your kunais. It's a good way of giving value without losing any also. Another tip is to just don't teleport to allies that are trying to do a 1v5. I've done it, I've died for it. Just ignore them, let them die, say L, just say L plus ratio, I don't care. Don't go in, you're just gonna regret it because you're gonna die, you can't save them. It's just better to regroup, wait for them, and then go in with them again. Just don't bother trying to save someone from a 1v5, you'll only get yourself killed. A very good way of using Kistune Rush, which is what I primarily do, is to use it at the start of a fight, or when you're about to engage, especially if you're trying to push to a point, because it really makes the enemies pull back, because they don't really want to rush into something where they know their enemies' cooldowns are super fast and they can fire 300 times faster, basically. That's an exaggeration, you don't actually fire that fast. But, you know, it's scary, especially if you have a Bastion. Have you seen a Bastion in her ultimate? It's insane, honestly. Recommend that. And Zenyatta shoots so fast. Whenever you're not healing, what I recommend you do is actually firing your kunai into chokes and corners like I stated earlier, because not only will you just gain ultimate charge even if you're hitting tanks, you can get a lot of kills that can literally turn the team fight into your favor. I've gotten some kills that I wasn't even aiming for from this, and honestly it turned the entire battle onto our side, because it'd be like an Ana or a Baptiste, and they just were completely a healer down and didn't know what to do. Here's my last tip. Wall climb for better positioning. People, I've noticed, don't actually use their wall climbing very much. People just underestimate it. You should really use it, honestly, an extreme amount, because not only can you get it to have better positions, you can trick an enemy into thinking you walk through a door when they're chasing you, when in reality you're above the door and you just climbed above it, so they walk right on past you. It's a really good way of just tricking enemies and just getting general better positions, because you can get yourself into positions that enemies can't flank you as easy, you'll get better angles, and it's just better overall. It's an extremely good ability. Alright, I gotta go and try and fight everyone so I can install out Kiriko. Hey, wait a second. If I just tell everybody Kiriko sucks, nobody will play her. Oh my gosh, Kiriko's totally the worst. Nobody should play her. There we go, now everybody hopped off of her. Finally, I can play her. Well, that is if I get in the stinking game. Blizzard, fix your servers! If you're still here, that means you probably liked the video. So if you want, why don't you check out one of these videos over here? The top one will be my latest video, which may or may not be Overwatch 2 related.